How do you know if the work you're doing is your vocation? Now, I've given a lot of thought to this. So just to give you an idea of how convoluted my career has been already, I tried first finance and then law before ending up in tech. And here are my insights. Your vocation is something you are drawn to. It's not a means to an end. It's not a means to making money. It's not a means to getting prestige. It's not a means to showing off. It's just something you're drawn to. You just can't help but do it. I think Martin Scorsese in his masterclass gives a pretty good idea of what a calling is by describing why he decided to start making films. He was just drawn to capturing stories that he would see playing out in his neighborhood back in the day when he was living in Little Italy, which is what led to Mean Streets and then Goodfellas. He was just drawn to capturing stories. It wasn't really something that he was doing as a means to an end. He would just do it. In fact, one of his first works was a storyboard that he drew out. And this was back before he could even afford a camera. He was just interested in capturing stories. That was what he did. He did it as a child. He just did it because he liked doing it. And that's really at the heart of a vocation. At the heart of a vocation is something you're just drawn to doing. You just do it out of interest, out of curiosity, and not really as a means to an end. Now, I guess the natural follow-up question to that is probably, how do you find your vocation? How do you find what you're drawn to? And that's kind of a weird question in my opinion. And it's a weird question because you don't exactly find what you're drawn to. You're just drawn to what you're drawn to. So in a sense, a vocation finds you. You don't find your vocation. This is very true for me. When I decided to go into finance, I was partially drawn to finance, but I was very drawn to the compensation aspect of it as well. That wasn't a vocation because I wasn't drawn to it. I wasn't doing it for the sake of itself. Instead, I was doing it as a means to an end. My second career path, which was law, corporate law specifically, fell into the same pattern. I was doing it as a way to gain prestige, as a way to, again, make a lot of money, not a vocation. Tech, which is now my current career path, I'm beginning to feel like is more of a vocation. I mean, right now, I don't make as much as I used to, and I would say that my hours are much longer, especially since I work after hours as well on my own tech project, but I'm just drawn to it. When people ask me why I work after work, my question is, why don't you work after work? Why don't you go and do projects that are of interest to you? That's what confuses me. To me, it's not really work after work. I am doing it because I'm drawn to it. I'm doing it because I'm interested in it. Just like you would play computer games after work, I'm doing my side project. It's something I'm drawn to. I don't do it as a means to an end, and that's what work means to me. Work is something you do to pay your bills. It's a means to an end. For me, my tech projects are ends in themselves, especially the process of working on them. That's an end in itself. I seek that end every single day after work. It's something I enjoy, and as a result, I do. Now, I realize that I've only given you a definition of vocation. I haven't really given you any practical ways to find out what your vocation is, which is probably what a lot of you are wondering. A lot of you out there are thinking about different careers, especially recent college graduates like myself. I'm only 2.5 years out of college, by the way, so still pretty early on in my career. But I do have one piece of advice, which actually comes from Charles Bukowski, and that is, if you have to try, don't try. And what he means by that is that if you have to force yourself to do something, if you have to compel yourself to do something, especially based on external rewards, that work is not your calling. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do that work. You can absolutely do work that is a means to an end, that is a means to making a lot of money, to a lot of prestige. You can absolutely do that work. I'm not casting any judgment whatsoever. That is fine as well. In fact, even if it wasn't, it doesn't matter. It's your choice. But I do have one piece of advice, and that is think about who you were before society told you who you should be. Now, when I was a child, what I did after school was not homework. What I did after school was I would go out to my local park and talk to as many different people as possible. I just talked to random people. And that's how I grew a huge social circle out of completely random strangers. That's how I made a few great childhood friends. I was just drawn to just talking to people, and I now understand why I'm drawn to tech. Because tech is all about people. Tech is all about understanding people. Tech is all about solving people's problems and talking to all kinds of different people to understand who they are and what they want. That is why I'm drawn to tech now. Now I understand. Now I understand where that comes from. Why I'm so curious about what other people want. Why I'm so curious about the desires of others. It's because as a child I was already drawn to that. And that instinct to understand others hasn't faltered. To summarize everything, vocation is a calling. It's something you're drawn to. You don't go find it. You're just naturally inclined towards it. And if you haven't found it now, try to think about who you were before society told you who you should be. And it takes a lot of exploration. It took me 6 years of just pondering this question over and over again, trying different things. Only through a process of elimination did I finally find something that I'm naturally drawn to. So that's it, guys, for this morning's segment of this vlog. I will now be doing Reddit outreach as usual. There are 30 minutes left before my day job, so I better get to these Reddit DMs, and I will see you in a bit. Alright, so I just finished up with work just now, and now it's time for another weekly meeting with my CTO, where we'll be discussing progress and what to do for the next iteration for our product. So stay tuned for that.
It's calling me, like the rainbow. It's calling me, like the rainbow, the rainbow. It's calling me.